Hi there, Gavin here from Death Door Racing. We are under the Safari Wagon today. We are going to be doing brake lines. So we are starting at the calipers and working our way up. And that's normally I would do it the opposite. I would start at the master cylinder, work our way down. But we don't have a master cylinder because it's just not practical for the guy to ship it, apparently. He's been busy, he says. Been 5 weeks now. Every week he said he's going to ship it out, and he hasn't yet. So I don't like that guy. I don't like him one bit. It's Sweeting, S-W-E-E-T-I-N-G. Don't use him. I'm going to badmouth crap out of him because he's a piece of crap. I just imagine him being this scrawny little weasel hiding behind his computer or his phone. And yeah, what a douche. Anyway, he got all bent with me today because I was getting upset with him. You know, because every time for 5 weeks now, because I don't get shipping confirmation. So I waited a week, didn't get shipping confirmation, called them. Oh, I'll get it out, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, today was the 5th call. And he doesn't understand why I'm upset about that. He's just sitting on $400 on parts that he hasn't shipped. It just crazy to me. Like how you can run a business like that and expect people to, you know, maybe come back. So anyway, so we are going to start at the calipers. We're going to work our way in. We're going to work our way up, and we're just going to run the lines wild for now. We have a proportioning valve that needs to go on, and that's also coming from them. Well, I shouldn't say it's coming, but it's supposed to be. But I'm going to run that thing up there right by the it's adjustable and stuff. So I kind of want it easily accessible by the master cylinder. So we're just going to run everything off of that, right off the master cylinder there. And then we're going to come down. We'll run down the frame and then down the control arm. So there's going to be a braided stainless line on going from the frame to the control arm, and then from the control arm to the axle. Then we'll tee it off and run it down to each caliper. And then the rear is going to be the exact same. So really easy. There's a couple things you gotta pay attention to when you're doing it. Not only do you want to watch out for obstacles, but you have to watch out for potential obstacles from the car. And a potential obstacle from a car, it's almost not even potential, it's almost a guarantee, will be at some point a front drive line swinging around. So you don't want to put it on the inside, even though it's out of harm's way from debris and rocks and stuff. You don't want to put it on the inside where it would get hit from a swinging axle. Usually they break down here at the axle itself. They usually don't break at the CV, but they could. I mean, you never know. But usually they'll break down here, and then they go woo, you know, until you realize what happened. So you want to kind of watch out for that. Just kind of imagine that thing swinging around and make sure you just don't put anything in harm's way. And if you do have to, I mean, which sometimes you do, you can put a guard, you know, over it so that it won't bend your brake line when that happens. You can make a removable guard or whatever. For it. So anyway, so that being said, I'm going to go in. I don't want to go up top because we have exhaust yet to build, and I don't want to give ourselves more obstacles than we need. So I think I'm going to go at about a 45-degree angle off the control arm on both. It'll be up on this the passenger side upper on both front and rear. And that's how we're going to get down to the axle. It gives us a nice spot to just kind of do a little loop, a U-turn there with the braided line, and just run straight down it. It'll be pretty easy. It's crazy how little motion when you have really long arms like this. These arms hardly move at all, angle-wise. I mean, they're only going like maybe 10 degrees total in a full sweep. Speaking of that, full sweep, got shipping confirmation on the coilovers. Those are on the way. And also, I ordered the driveline today. I remembered finally. So that'll probably be here by the end of the week too. Well, maybe not. That'll probably be like Monday or something. They're fast. It's Woody's 4xshaft.com. They're great. They're super reliable. That place doesn't sit on your money and just sit on it for a month and a half. So anyway, not that I'm bitter, but man, that's frustrating. I never in a million years would run a business that way. I don't know what the heck he's thinking. Yeah, so that's where we're going to go. I'm going to get going on it. We got an Eastwood, the flaring tool. Really cool. It's not the hydraulic one by hand. It's the one you put in a vise, and then it has quick change. You know, the indexing dies, so it's real fast. Wham, wham, wham. Get the flare and stuff on there, and then I also have the JIC flares and stuff. which is another die, so that I can do that stuff too, which is really, really handy. And you can do bubbles and everything else on it too. So pretty cool. So anyway, we're just using not common 45-degree flares. We do have AN fittings. We all our braided lines are 3AN. But we're running adapters down to our standard 45-degree taper, which is pretty normal. Usually they'll just come with that adapter on them already, so you don't have to actually buy them separate. But anyway, so I'm going to get going here, and hopefully this all goes good. It's pretty easy. There's not usually too many surprises when you're doing this stuff. It's just time, kind of a relaxing thing to do, which we need right now. So hang in there and check it out. I'll give you a kind of tutorial on that Eastwood kit, on that Eastwood flaring tool. That thing's kind of cool. So stay tuned. Okay, and just to start off, we gotta find a spot for our T where we can get our lines easily, kind of get them in a spot where it's easy to run them from side to side, and then the braided line goes on the other side of the T, and we'll go up the control arm. And here I'm just drilling out some of our tabs that I have that we've been mounting everything on. I'm just using the same tab, and I'm just drilling it out so that the AN adapters can fit it. I got the screw-on style fittings instead of using those clips, like which is kind of normal. I like the screw-on one so it holds it better. Now I'm just tacking on those tabs I just drilled, and those will hold the stainless lines. And a quick measurement, we'll get our first line built. And here I'm just going to measure, and I'm going to cut this long, so we'll trim it once we get it all bent, but I just going to cut it long. Here's a tubing straightener that they sell those at Eastwood as well. They work really, really good for just straightening the tube out. This tube already has a flare on the end because it's the beginning of the roll. So we'll go ahead and use that flare. So I slid the nut down, screwed it on, and now I'm just going to kind of make some marks so I know where to bend it. And I got these pliers, these bending pliers I got also from Eastwood. They're really convenient, but I don't like the way they bend the line. It puts a kind of a crease in it. So I am going to modify those a little bit. But I went ahead and used old stuff to finish this job after I got done with this line. But they need to have a thicker backing. They're too sharp, so they put a kink in the line. So I wasn't super happy with them. And now I just make a mark, obviously leaving a little bit of room for the flare. It takes off about 1/8 of an inch or so once you flare it, maybe a little more than 1/8 of an inch. And here I'm showing you I put a spring on where it goes through. The line is actually going to go through the gusset, through the clearance in the gusset. So I put one of those protection springs on just to make sure that I don't get a rubbing issue there and have a hole get formed in that line. So to use this thing, you start at level 0. You just kind of push everything proud towards the dies, and then you just kind of very lightly snug it up. Put it on step 0, and then you just actually push the tool, and everything will push back. And I always try to put pressure on the line so that you make sure the line doesn't stay in the dies when you push the dies back if it's shallow. But it should end up being all flush with the end once you push it back. Then you just go step 1, step 2 on your size line on there. It's really easy. It doesn't take much pressure. There's not much of a feel to it. It just dead stops when you're done. All right, now we're just going to put our tabs on. We'll put a thread insert in the left one there, and on the right one I put it on there, and then I realized I couldn't get my tool in it, so we're going to have to use a nut and bolt on that one. And then we're just using little isolator clamps there in quarter 20 bolts, little flange head bolts. All right, now I got my measurement for my driver's side line, and so I'm just going to flare the one side really quick. Then we'll go ahead and put it in there, and I'll use my hand benders. I'm gonna try to use those for as many times as I can, and then I have a little tiny one that I'll use for tight, hard to reach areas. So yeah, just kind of underbend it, just keep bending it until you get it right, and then I marked it. Leaving 1/8 of an inch over, and that's another one you just kind of have to eyeball, but that's what's nice about having a zigzag is you can kind of straighten the zigzag or tighten up the zigzag if it's too long. And then just oil it up. This one's again going through a gusset, so I'm going to put a spring on it. And then we're going to go ahead and don't forget your nut. You will forget those a number of times. Put it on 0, set everything back, and then your 2 steps, and you're done. And there we go. It's a perfect fit. All right, and now we're going for the line going up the control arm, and you got to remember now we're going from, those were all 3/16 lines we did, now we're going on 1/4 inch lines, so you don't forget that. I actually did forget that, I just am not showing it to you, and so I started making it out of 3/16, and then I realized what I was doing. So it's a different set of rollers. You got to buy, to straighten it, you got to buy one for each size. That's the unfortunate part about those easy ones. And then obviously you just change your dies on that machine, and then you just you'll use the same 0, and then it has its own step 1, and then you use the same step 2 is the same for 3/16 and 1/4. That's the one that just pushes the inside down in. And then you never want to go straight on a line like this, even though you could. You always want to do a zigzag or down, over and back up again. You don't want to go straight, or you'll potentially pull the ends off of the line that you just beveled if it's too short, or you'll obviously it'll be bowed if it's too long. So you always want to make sure you have a bend in it, so that it takes that, basically it can just straighten out or increase the bend in it to accommodate for length change. And now I'm just here. I'm cleaning it up there so I can tack the other end of our stainless line, our little bracket there, onto the frame where I want it, and I'll weld it up, and we'll be good to go, and then we'll start on the back. All right, and so the back's just like the same. We got to find a spot for our T where all the lines can go into it, and the line can obviously go right onto the control arm, the braided line. So I drilled and tapped the tube on this one, and 3/8/16. That's a thick tube, so it's good enough to hold that thing on there. And then I'll tack our bracket on the control arm, remembering to pull a loop in it, so that you have so that you're not just bending the line sharply. It's just pulling the loop flat and not flat. And then the same thing for the calipers. Remember, those calipers move; they're not stationary. They do go in and out a little bit. So you want to leave a loop in those ones as well. So put your tabs and stuff accordingly for that, so that those aren't tight on the calipers as well. That's especially important. I didn't point that out on the front. Remember, that's a steering axle, so you got to have a pretty big loop on that one, because that actually moves a lot. So on the upper side, on the car side here, I just found that I could put that bracket for the line right next to the bolt. I left enough room. I actually put a socket on there to make sure I had enough room to get that bolt in and out without having to take the line off. And then I'm just putting brackets on to hold the stainless steel, the braided line. Those are kind of long lines. They're the ones that came with the calipers. So I just went ahead and put a bracket there, and we'll leave all the excess material out on the caliper side again in a loop. So as those move, they don't pull it off. Here I'm showing you chapstick on those. That's what they actually tell you to use, and it actually works really well on that. That's the thread insert tool that you put in your drill. They actually have you put chapstick on the die, and it seems to work well. I've done hundreds and hundreds of those with that thing, and it has it no wear at all. So the chapstick is nice. Plus, it smells like berries, so that's always nice. And now we're back on the die machine. So, man, I love that thing. That is so nice. It makes such quick work of this stuff. And now I'm using a little tiny bender, just because it can get in there a little better. And I'm going to bend that thing so we're kind of on the tube, and I need to be behind the tube. So I'm just getting it, as you can see there, so that I can. It's a real short line there, so it's going to go right into the block. And I didn't show you flaring that one, but that line's done now. That one looks really nice. I was pretty proud of that one. Now moving on to the other side, same thing. I'll put it in there, and then we're just going to go ahead and bend it around. I'm going to use that same little bender. I seem to have misplaced it there. That's where I was wandering around. I usually was putting it in my pocket. I think it was in my pocket, and I just didn't realize it. But anyway, so I have to come out and then go over And then just so it looks nice, even though it fits, I'm going to go up and over the diff there, just so it follows the frame. It would have worked just to go straight, but it looks nicer. It's not very hard to bend that stuff. Just to go like that, make a mark. Remember, leave 1/8 of an inch for the flare. And that's it. We'll go ahead and flare it, cut it, and flare it. So we got it on there. It looks really, really nice. And I'm going to put I just drilled and tapped the frame for the clamp on this one. And the arm the line I'm showing you there, that's the one going up the control arm, and that was the wow I put in it so that it's not just a straight run on this one. But then I realized that it didn't fit in the die in the machine, so we actually have to go old school. So here's how you use those. So that's your depth gauge. Those little dies that you put in there, they actually that's the depth that you want on that little step that they put on it. So then you put it in, squish it all the way flat with the die with the pointy end in the tube, and then you squish it all the way flat, and then you take it off, take the little die out, and so now you made a bell. That's a bubble joint. So if you're doing a clutch or something, that's just how you leave it. And then since we're not doing a clutch, we need a double flare, so we're just you just use the machine without that black insert in there to finish off the taper. And then those ones like to leave a little burr in there, and I like to scrape them out with a knife. So there it is. So the other nice part about that, having that little wow in it, is it does make putting our little tab nice, because you can kind of just adjust the line around until it fits in a good spot. That's another little perk of having that offset. But yeah, you really need one of those wows in it so that you don't damage that line. And then with the temperature and everything else, it could pull out, and you could have a failure if you don't leave an expansion area in it. So now we're just flaring another line. This is the one that's going to go up the frame rail. And now I'm gonna do a little bit of bending on this one before we even get it in there, so that I can get the offset. It'll make it a lot easier. That way we can screw it into it and then start doing our bending above the cross member and all that stuff. All right, and so there it is. Now I'm just I'm gonna go ahead and just clamp this thing on, kind of basically skip a clamp, and then the whole way, and then I'll come back through and add some clamps later. I really like this line. It looks really nice. It's the 4 Lifetimes nickel copper lines that they sell. You can kind of get them anywhere, but it's that nickel copper. It's kind of a cool line. It bends real nice, it looks real nice, and it stays nice. It doesn't corrode very much. So we got it all done. We're gonna leave it right where we got it until we get our master cylinder and proportioning valve, and then we just have to basically just drop 2 lines down. And there are a couple things you got to watch for when you do that. You're going from body to frame, remember, so you're going to have to put an expansion area in. That's usually why you see the curly cues coming off the master cylinders on old cars. Newer cars usually have actual flex lines on them coming off the master cylinder. So that is that. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. I'm super excited about a lot of things, and then super bummed out about the way things are going in the world right now. But anyway, so our proportioning valve is going to go right where I'm pointing. It's going to go right there on the that's the tower for the coilover that I was pointing to there. It's going to go right at the base of that, basically. So the lines will come off the master cylinder down to the proportioning valve, then from the proportioning valve down to our 2 lines that we just ran. So there's the big loop going to the calipers, and then that line turned out pretty good. The first line we built, I didn't like those pliers, so the bends don't look super nice in them. You kind of see how they're not very crisp and precise looking. But that's okay. They'll work. It's just that one's kind of temporary. One of the first things we're going to upgrade on this car is that front axle, so that line's all going to get remade anyway. I don't think that Dana 44 is going to stand much of a chance in this car. I don't know. We'll see. I have a feeling we're going to break it. Here's a little snapshot. There's some. That was a Ford 429, and then I bought it for the heads, but it's actually a really good motor. And then here's our crate motor that's going in the tow truck. We're gonna rebuild a set of those heads and put them on that crate motor, and that's gonna bump our compression up to about 9.5 to 1. It already has a cam in it, so we should have a pretty hot little motor for that tow truck. It's pretty cool. I'm really excited about it. Anyway, stay tuned. Later, I think I am gonna start working on that tow truck, the motor and stuff on that. And so an episode for that should be coming out pretty soon, and we get our coilovers tomorrow. So stay tuned for that too. I mean, that's going to come out this weekend. I should have them on the car, and we'll actually see to get that car on the ground. So that's really exciting. Anyway, thanks for watching. We will see you next time.